Hey folks, if you want to get me excited about a game I've never heard of and you're telling me about it, the first thing you should tell me is that it's a cooperative game. Never mind the theme, tell me it's co-op first. Though if it's a game about pirates, like Dead Men Tell No Tales, that doesn't hurt. And so this co-op pirate game is a game in which you are going to be working together with the other players to grab some loot from a burning ship and carry it outside before, well, a lot of bad things end your game. Game looks very good, as you can see. Has a very stark, attractive cover. Does the gameplay match this beautiful theme, beautiful artwork, and the fact that it's co-op? Let me give you an overview and we'll find out. Alright, so I'm going to be giving you an overview here of the game. I will not be going over every single rule because, well, it would take too long. So I'm just going to give you the idea. The objective of the game is to carry out a certain amount of loot from this burning ship called Skelet's Revenge. In this case, I am representing a game with 2 players. It's going to be an easy game for treasure. The way the treasure is found in the game is on these tiles. They look like that. The way you get this is by defeating this character, and the way he comes on the board is by drawing those tiles, placing them on the board somewhere where the doors match, and then drawing this from the bag. These are all put in a bag, and once these guys come out, they will be placed in the room that they happen to that you just drew. You flipped a room, then you drew a tile. The others of these tiles are other things like skeleton crew, which you have to fight for smaller rewards, and sometimes also these trap doors, which are going to bring on some of these deck hands onto the board, which are going to impede basically your ability to play easily. So, each turn goes like this. Let's assume this is no longer here. We're just going to remove it for now. Each turn has 3 phases. The first phase is you are going to flip a tile. Normally, at the beginning of the game, it's actually 2 tiles, but we're going to skip that for now. You flip a tile, like I showed you. You add it somewhere where the doors match up. You put a die there if it tells you to on that number. You go in the bag. You grab a token. In this case, it's a a skeleton crew, and if you defeat him, you're going to get a cutlass. I'll talk about that later. It's going to go on there. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is you get 5 actions. The actions you can do are right here. You can walk from one room to another, and once you walk, you're going to take some fatigue, which is on this track. You start at 0. This is going to basically slow you down. Once you hit certain points on the track here, the 5, the 4, the 3, you're not going to be able to walk into rooms that are too hot, that are that number or above. And so that's walking. Running is the same thing, but faster at a fatigue penalty. So a single action, but you are going to be paying more fatigue for that. Let me illustrate that point. You have these 5 actions every round. Let's say I start out here, outside the ship. For 1 action, I'm going to move in here. I take 3 fatigue because the difference from the room I came in from to the room I came in to is 3. Let's say I move again for 1 action. I move in here. I went from a 3 to a 4. I take 1 more fatigue. Let's say I move again. For some reason I move back this way. This is actually less than this one. No fatigue. Okay? Running is the same thing, but you take +2 fatigue after that, and you move 2 rooms instead of 1. Lower fire. You can lower the fire in the current room by 1. So if I'm in that room for 1 action, again, I can bring this down to a 2. Eliminate deckhand. Remove 1 deckhand from the current or adjacent room. These deckhands, as I said, are going to be spreading around, causing you all sorts of havoc. You can eliminate 1. You can pick up a token. Well, when I defeat this guy, and I'll talk about combat in just a minute, he flips over, I could pick that up for one action and use it. You can rest, which is lower this fatigue so you can actually move around and not die. And you can increase your battle strength by 1 down here. Or you could swap out your item. This one, you're given one random at the beginning for any of the other ones over there. Okay, third phase of each turn is the bad stuff phase, in which you're going to be taking one of these cards, flipping it over, and doing whatever it tells you to do. In this case, every 4 on the board, both yellow and red, are going to go up to a 5. And so this 4 would become a 5. Okay? And so that's what most cards do, and then they have a secondary thing down here. In this case, you put 1 deckhand at every trapdoor on the board. So it would add 1 more there. Let me just quickly show you here. This means that they spread out from there. So if there's already a guy here and there's no deckhands there, they would add 1. So through every open door, technically, usually they'll add more deckhands. If these run out, you lose. But I'll get to how you lose many ways in a second. Oh, by the way, and that was a yellow 2. So every yellow 2 would become a yellow 3. Every 3 becomes a 4. Some of these pirates, this guy, for example, if he had not been beat, he would move 1 step closer to whoever's closest. Every space that's empty, you add a 1. Now when you saw... And so you get the idea. Now these are the ones that make the rooms go boom, because if a room is ever at a 5 and then becomes a 6, they explode. Here's how that works. Let's say this room, through one of these cards, this one's yellow, but let's say it was the red one, it explodes. First of all, it kills this guy, it's removed from the game. But then if, let's say it's this tile over here becomes a 6, goes to a 6, you flip it, and then through, well, before you flip it, through every door it had, it would increase the heat by 1. So let's say this was at a 3, this was at a 1, this becomes a 2 now. This becomes a 4, and this one's flipped over. And we track 1 explosion on this track down here. And so that's the way that works. It's going to impede your passage. It's going to obviously track 1 explosion, which, again, if you can see here on the end of the track, skull and crossbones means, well, you died. Game's over. That's another way to lose. So that's one thing to watch out for, is explosions, and you have to really manage the fire in the rooms. The way battles work is you can normally spend 1 action, as I showed you already. You can flip over one of these to increase your battle track, which is going to help you out. But basically, anytime you walk into a room that has one of these skeleton crew or one of the guards who actually guard the big treasures, the ones you need to win and take outside to win the game, you have to fight every time you walk in there. And so if I walk in there, the very next thing that happens is we fight. I don't spend an action for it, it just happens. And so I'll take a die here and I'll roll it. And in this case I got a 3, he is a 4. If I had pumped up my battle track by at least 1, I could then spend it. By the way, you have to spend it all. Even if I'm up here and catching it all in would be a waste, I have to do it. And then I would beat him. But let's assume my track was down here on 0. Well, I lost. Now I take fatigue equal to the difference. I rolled a 3, he's a 4, I would take 1. And now I check the back of our handy dandy sheet here. And it says that I roll a die against that chart. I got a 5, and on that 5, we fight again. Otherwise, he might retreat, I might retreat, or I get to just pick one of those 3 things. So that's the way fighting works. You're going to use here your pumped up track. You're going to pump up the track, fight these guys. When they flip over, this is a cutlass, which means you can put here, and your battle track will never drop below that. And the other kind of skeleton crew gives you grog. You can drink this for free and lower your fatigue by that much. Okay, I've gone ahead and jumped here forward in the game. This is what your game might look like about 3 rounds in or so. And I am going to take my full turn so you get to see what that's like, okay? This is where my fatigue is at. It's at 7. I've already got 2 cutlasses here. And I've got rum And this is my pirate. I probably would not be this buffed up, honestly, by the third round. But the board would be much bigger, which I don't want to have to deal with right now. So my turn is very simple. I take a tile. I flip it. I add it to somewhere on the board. I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to put a die on it with a 2, which is what it says to do. I'm going to reach in here, pull a tile. Okay, this is one of the guards. This is the guy I need to kill to get the loot. If I get 4 of these outside, I win the game. Alright, and now I got my 5 actions to take. So, what I'm going to try to do is go over there and kill that guy on this turn. If I kill him again, there's loot there that I can use to win the game. I need 4 for an easy game. 1 action, I'm going to move from here to here. The difference of the rooms is 1, so I take 1 fatigue. For 1 more action, I'm going to beef up. I'm going to use another action to beef up again. I'm going to use my rum, which is a free rest action. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to take a free rest, which gives me back 2 fatigue, basically. I get rid of 2 fatigue. I am going to use 1 more action to swap out my item. I'm going to take the sword that gives me +1 strength in battle for the rum. And I'm going to use my last action to walk in there. As soon as I walk in, there's a battle. I'm rolling the die. Boom. I got a 5. It's not quite enough to beat his 6. This guy's a 6. So I have to cash it all in. I cannot just spend 1, which would be enough. So I'm cashing it all in, fine. He's dead, I flip it over. It stays there. And then next turn, I can spend actions to pick it up and run it outside the ship. And that's basically how you play the game. Get enough of those treasures outside, keep the explosions, or running out of these guys. And by the way, there being 2 of these guys somewhere doesn't let you pick anything up. And there being 3 impedes your passage completely. As you can see from that overview, there's actually quite a bit going on. The game's not complicated, but there are a lot of steps. And there is a lot of stuff I left out simply because it would make the video just too long, okay? And so things like, for example, pirates, each pirate having their own special power, the fact that when you carry loot outside, you are in looting mode and you take more fatigue, a lot of things. So there's quite a bit going on here. The negative first is that I find the mechanisms of the game to be a little bit derivative of games such as Pandemic and Flashpoint Fire Rescue. But for me, that is where the negatives, my friends, end. Well, that's not entirely true. There is one more thing I want to talk about, which is this starting board I have an issue with, because the starting board is very nice, it's well made, but these 4 rooms here can blow up just like this room can blow up if it hits a 6, and this one you can flip over. These, you cannot flip over one single room. And so someone posed the question, and the publisher and designer said, oh yeah, right, well, we're going to make some backs available online, and you can print those out. And, okay, that's fine, but it's really something that should have been included in the box. It seems like a strange oversight, and I suspect it's a Kickstarter issue, that maybe the game got rushed a little bit, and that got missed. So be aware that these 4 rooms can blow up, and you simply have to either leave a 6 there to remember it blew up already, which I find just visually unappealing. I don't like that. Or go find those backs, tile backs, and print them out, and then if these blow up, you can just cover them up like so. This game is absolutely one of my favorite games of this year so far. The game is stunning. It is a wonderful, thematic, yet mechanically beautiful game, which just works well, has a great hook with the pirate theme, the looting, the skeletons coming after you, a great battle system. It takes both of those worlds, the thematic, the theme-heavy world and this mechanism-heavy world, and mashes them together really, really well in a truly attractive way, in my opinion. I love co-ops, obviously, as I said before, and this one is a great one. It's been a while since I've played a co-op that's really sort of wowed me, and again, the game feels a little bit derivative, so if you're looking for an original co-op game, this might not be it, because it does feel like some of those other games. And maybe that's why I like it so much, because some of those games are some of my favorite games ever. Games like Pandemic. But this game is a beauty, and I wholeheartedly recommend it. An absolute treasure, one of my favorite games of the year, as I said. Dead Men Tell No Tales looks this good and plays this good. You gotta check it out.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.